Well, that didn't have the same effect that I wanted it to. Hello and welcome to the Chaotic Rebirth podcast. My name is Katie and thank you for being here. If you are watching on YouTube, I am in full comfy mode. I have my little drink, my little tea. So you should just sit back and relax, grab your own little drinky drink, and let's just talk today, shall we? The topic of discussion today is going to be the one, the only, Loki. Loki Laufey-Yarsen, I believe is how his last name is pronounced. Laufey is his mom, and that's his mom's name, and then Yarsen, I believe, is son of. So his last name is just son of Laufey. Kind of cool. Anyway, so this is actually the second time that I'm recording this, and the reason is because I felt like I went on and on and on and on a little bit too much about my own experience with Loki, without really giving anybody any tidbits or like advice on what to expect any advice or any tidbits on if they wanted to start working with Loki. So here's how it's going to go down. I am going to kind of talk about how Loki came into my life. I'm going to talk about my experiences with him and maybe a few stories. And then I'm going to get into the research that I found about him, and then some tidbits and things for people who are wanting to work with him or do work with him, and just things for you guys to know. Oh my gosh, I'm so stuffy today. I think it might be allergies. It's that time of the year, unfortunately. Let's get into Loki. So starting with how Loki came into my life. So in my previous podcast, I did kind of touch on the fact that when I started deity work, I started with Hades and Persephone, and I didn't really feel very much of a connection to them. And I got this, so the way that I actually started like figuring out that Loki was in my space was I got a oracle deck called the Viking Oracle. Fun fact, Vikings were a job title and not people, if that makes sense. So I got this deck called the Viking Oracle, and, I was so excited to use it, and so I started using it, cleansed it, of course, but I started using it, and so the deck itself has, like, pretty much all of the runes in it as cards, and then there's also some gods and goddesses as well that are a part of the cards, as well as, like, just some images within Norse mythology, like Yggdrasil and Valkyries and stuff like that. And so I shuffled and I asked if there is any Norse deity that would like to work with me, just let me know with this deck. And Loki's card flew out. It was the only card that flew out. And I was like, holy shit. And because I don't understand I didn't know anything about Loki. This was actually before his huge, resurgence on TikTok. I don't remember really seeing a whole lot about him until I started posting about him, and maybe I got on that side of TikTok. I have no idea, but, I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. This is so cool. I can't believe that he wants to work with me. I was so stoked. I sat down and I started Googling and I started looking into him. And I actually want to give myself a little bit of credit because I did actually research quite a lot more than I did Hades and Persephone. And over time, I confirmed him with a tarot deck, and I confirmed him many, many times. And I, learned about vetting and stuff like that. So I did this correctly, whereas with Hades and Persephone, I didn't do any of this, really. I did research, but not nearly enough. I didn't vet. I didn't get the proper confirmation. So I actually think it was just him in my space the whole entire time, probably just pretending to be Hades and Persephone. And it was actually funny because for a while before he made himself known, there was a spirit guide that I had that would make jokes and laugh at like things that I did, and I was like, man, that's kind of an asshole spirit guide. What the fuck? But it turned out to be Loki. And so that's how that started. And Loki and I have a very interesting relationship. I've actually gotten told that I am disrespectful to him on TikTok, which I find hilarious because I respect him immensely. He pisses me off, though. He really does. He has put me in a lot of situations that I'm just like, bro, what the fuck? But I understand. I mean, at the beginning, I didn't understand. I didn't understand in the beginning, but I understand now that when life is kind of hectic and crazy, it's for my growth and it's for my betterment. But at the time when I started worshiping Loki, I was actually in a different relationship than the one I'm in now. Not a good one. That's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to get sued. So it just wasn't a good relationship. And I was engaged to this person, and I needed to get out. I kept ignoring every single sign that I was getting. There was, like, I was getting cards from other people telling me that I needed to leave because I was totally shut off after a while. I wasn't talking to Loki. I wasn't talking to my guides. I wasn't meditating. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't doing readings because I was so fucking depressed and, like, stuck. So after a particularly bad situation, I was like, I need to go clear my head, and I'm going to go stay with my friend Danielle, who, if you don't know Danielle, she runs Crescent Beings Healing, and we were actually business partners. We decided to separate earlier last year for no reason other than we just both were wanting different things out of the business, and I love her immensely, and she's doing fucking fantastic. And if you want any crystals, she is your girl. Anyway, gotta put that little subtle promo in there for her. But yeah, so I went and stayed with her, and of course, like, we're both psychic mediums, and so we were doing a bunch of readings over that time, and she just got a new oracle deck, and she wanted to give me a reading with it, and I was like, okay. So she did, and I kid you not, this is so crazy, and I still think about it to this day. She's reading out of the book for the oracle cards, right? And there's this one card, and word for word, this isn't the whole definition, obviously, but there was a sentence in there that said, word for word, you need to rethink this engagement. And I was like, what the fuck? No. Are you serious? And then I asked her, I was like, can I look at the card for a second? And she gave me the card. And the deck, it was all women, like, goddesses, like, looking women, like, kind of depicted in different ways. And it was a woman, and there were snakes and wolves on the card. And I was like, that's Loki. There's absolutely no way that is not Loki. And then I went to the bathroom after that, and there's a spider in the bathroom. Crazy. Okay, so long story short, I did end up leaving that relationship, and then I grew a very strong relationship with Loki. I do think that I piss him off, though, because I don't listen to him all the time. I tend to just do what I feel is, like, the correct thing for me. It's funny because he didn't want me to go on my first date with my now boyfriend for some reason, even though he is fantastic, and Loki loves him now, and I don't know if he just, like, didn't want to share me, or, like, if he just was like, no, you shouldn't be doing this. I have no idea, but at first he did not want me to go on the date with my now boyfriend. So yeah, and since then, my relationship with Loki, I mean, he is still a very big part of my life, but I try to have transparency in the fact that I definitely have not been doing what I need to do within deity work, and I personally have actually felt very disconnected recently, and I'm just trying to give myself time, truthfully, and so for any of you who are listening that also are like, I am so tired, or I just don't have the energy, or I'm doing too much, and like I want to be doing this, but it's just so much right now, that's okay. I have ADHD, and I'm pretty sure I'm dealing with a lot of like executive dysfunction right now. I have no idea, but the thought of doing it at this current moment is like exciting because I miss it so much, but at the same time it's like exhausting because I'm just so burnt out and tired. So it's okay. He's still around. Freya's still here. I know they are. They would make it abundantly clear if they were like, hey, fuck you. But they know. They've been telling me to rest. They've been telling me to do that. So I'm like, all right, that's what I've been trying to do. Okay. So the next part of this is kind of, so the research that I did on Loki. There's a lot going around about Loki that, which is unfortunate because it is spread by, I believe, other Norse pagans. I made tons of videos about it on TikTok where there's been Norse pagans that are like, no, don't work with Loki. He's evil. He's a trickster. Like, you know, like he's just going to make your life terrible. I've also had people that have been like, Loki ruined my life and like stuff like that. You did not do your research if you feel this way, because for one, Loki is depicted as the evil god in a lot of like Norse mythology books that you read. And even so, he was depicted as the devil, kind of back in Old Norse times. So it's understandable as to why like Norse pagans kind of think of him like that. However, that doesn't mean that he is not a god to work with. He is fantastic to work with. He actually, so in the research that I did about him when I was first starting out, I learned that he very much gravitates towards people with mental illnesses and PTSD. My personal opinion is that he gravitates towards people with ADHD. I think more of the chaos that he enjoys. But yeah, he gravitates towards people with PTSD and mental illnesses. And he gravitates towards people who need help with inner child healing. That's a big part of it. And he also like just likes kids too. I think it's because of the like childlike wonder and that's why like healing your inner child is so important, is because it's like it kind of removes a lot of that anxiety and helps you be a little bit more carefree in life and open, because kids are like the amount of people that I've had like clients be like, oh my god, yeah, my kid is telling me that they see like a spirit or whatever. I'm like, yeah, because they're open. Nobody has told them that it's fake or that they shouldn't be seeing that yet. Like, they are completely open to all of these energies. But Loki is also just a very childlike energy, in my opinion. Just in the way that he loves goofing off. He loves like, and he teaches you not to take things so seriously in life. To embrace change and to like allow things to come and go, what are meant for you. And so Loki is a very complex god, and he uses chaos to bring change into our life when it's very much needed. The Tower card comes to mind when I think about Loki, because not everybody, but a lot of people think that the Tower card is inherently evil, right? Like it's a bad negative card. Like you see the Tower card and you're like, fuck. And that's understandable because it shows that your life is either going to be or is in upheaval right now. And there's a lot of destruction happening. But it's not going to last forever, and it's for a good reason, because these old foundations are falling apart so that way new things can come into its place. And that's exactly the reason why Loki creates chaos, and why he may like remove certain people from your life or cause a falling out or like whatever. It's because you need to make room for these new things, new people, new ventures. Like, oh my God, like I lost my job. Well, yeah, you can't have a new amazing job if you are still at your old job, right?
Editing Katie here. I was talking about this and I can't even believe I didn't talk about the fact that you are allowed to feel your feelings. You're allowed to be angry, sad, upset, whatever. I hate toxic positivity, and I really don't want to sound like I am trying to throw that out there. It is important that you feel whatever you need to feel when these things are happening to you. Okay, that is all I wanted to say.
And it's about opportunity, and I think that the chaos, a lot of people can't really handle it. Truth be told, I have a hard time handling it sometimes. I think everybody would. You're human. It's difficult when things kind of hit the fucking fan. Even something like, I mean, this happened to me before. Even something like a car accident. I know that sounds kind of morbid, but like I've gotten into a car accident before, and I really needed money, and I got a decent amount of money from that car accident. I didn't have a car, but I got money, and I needed it at the time. I still don't think that working with Loki is for like the weak of heart. Like, you have to be able to handle these changes, and you have to be able to handle the chaos. But the thing is that Loki is also such a wonderful like father figure to so many people, me included. He is just so kind and loving, and I recommend people work with him if they can handle the other parts of him as well, because he has been there for me through so much shit, and like he continues to be there even when I'm not being the best that I should be. And I really appreciate that from him. So I think I like kind of meshed the last two things together, and like, you know, tidbits for people who want to work with him. Fucking just do it. Make sure that you do your research on him and that you don't jump into it too quick. Loki can be very specific with what he wants. And set boundaries with him as well. But he's a wonderful, wonderful God to worship and to work with, and he will treat you very well. Oh, I will give this one tidbit out to those who are wanting to work with Loki. There is a Loki egregore going around that I have heard, and if you do not know what an egregore is basically an entity that is created from a group of people's belief in them, right? So entities can be created just by a group of people's beliefs. There's a lot of people that have a misconstrued idea of who Loki is, which is what I kind of already talked about. There's a misconstrued idea of who they think Loki is. They think that he is evil. They think that he just comes and causes chaos to ruin your life. And so an egregore has been created of a Loki that does just kind of not really help and confuses you. That's something to look out for. The big thing that I have seen is that he wants to God spouse like right away. And I do believe in God spousal. It's obviously real. I mean, we have nuns in Catholicism, you know, that's basically the same thing. It's just more socially acceptable. But if you have just started working with Loki and he's like, hey, let's God spouse or like whatever, like that's kind of a red flag. If it's been a few years, then sure. And you also have the ability to say no. You do not have to accept this like idea. So even if it's been a few years and you're like, I don't know if I want to do that, always research, of course, if that's what you want to do. But from what I know of God spousal, it gives that God a lot of control over decisions that you make in your life. But I have not seriously researched it. This is just what I've heard through the grapevine. So if that's something that interests you, make sure you research it anyway. But that's just something to look out for. And if you're getting really confusing messages, that's another thing to look out for. Nothing to be worried about either. That's why just knowing basic banishment can be really important for deity work, as well as vetting, because the egregore always answers incorrectly. So just make sure that you vet whenever you feel that way. You tend to feel kind of anxious when that energy's around, because it's popped into my space before, actually trying to trick me, and I have just done a quick banishment and told it to leave and asked real Loki to make sure it doesn't come back, and I have not had a problem. So yeah, okay, I think that is the end of the second podcast episode from the Chaotic Rebirth podcast. Thank you so much for listening and hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed our time. And I hope you had a nice little beverage to drink with me. And if you have any questions about Loki that you would like answered, I feel like I'm probably going to make a few different podcast episodes or videos about him, so please feel free to comment below. It would mean so much to me if you liked, comment, shared this podcast with other people in your life, because I am trying to grow, so this is a very important part. So just make sure you subscribe for more, and thank you so much again for watching. And listening. I really appreciate you, and thank you so much for being here.